All right. I wasn't gonna get into this, but what took place in the Parliament in Canada, and the thing is it's not ironic because it's actually a true repeating of what took place before the rise of Nazi Germany and the Second World War. Now, understand that what took place in the Canadian Parliament was taking place up to the build-up of the Second World War and the rise of the Nazis. That's what was taking place in the political bodies all through Europe, all through Western Europe, all through in the United States and Australia and New Zealand and basically the West. If you look back and look up articles and radio and TV and all that other stuff, print. You know what I mean. You'll see this dynamic where they were basically downplaying and whitewashing Nazism. And these are things that you can look up. Even the National Archives holds this sort of stuff. You can find it in declassified reports and files. So this isn't things, or even even going on. You can look up what the colleges and universities have. Historians and sociologists and what they have covered. So this is not a conspiracy theory, not made up. You can confirm it. All you have to do is look for it, and they're not that difficult to find. But if you don't want to take the time, check out Aaron Good. He's an historian. Check out others like Aaron, who made a study of this sort of geopolitical historical happenings. So, Aaron Good is not the only one that covers this, but it's a good source, and you can find. You can find it on Geopolitical Economy or G/E. And that's Ben Norton's channel. It's a good source. It's ironic because what's happening in Ukraine, before the Russians decided to do that special policing action in Ukraine and the invasion by Russia into Ukraine, what is called NATO, which is basically Western Europe and the United States, Australia, New Zealand. You get the picture. Canada, you get the picture. So understand that during the build-up to the Second World War, you had politicians, you had the media, I even had Times calling Hitler Man of the Year, and you can look it up. It's there. They were boosting and whitewashing Nazism, and the only change Uh, they only changed their face and rhetoric after the ruling elites in the West decided that Nazi Germany was a threat to their ruling elite status, to their profits, to their ability to control, to dominate and dictate. So, and it's ironic how up to the buildup of the Russian invasion into Ukraine, and how NATO had basically, the U.S. and NATO had basically made Ukraine a de facto NATO state, meaning that Ukraine was de facto NATO, which is what the Russians have been saying for decades upon decades. That don't make Ukraine part of NATO, because they're literally on our border. We don't want your missiles. We don't want your military equipment. We don't want your military boots on our border. It's just like how after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union said, yes, we'll pull out of East Germany so long as you agree that you will not expand NATO 1 inch beyond East Germany's border. And that didn't happen. That the West, who agreed with it, did not, in fact, keep it. They expanded all the way to almost all the way to the Russian border. Now you have Finland and Sweden joining. It's so you're basically doing all that, escalating the situation, and knowing that escalation is to provoke an escalation on the part of Russia, and Russia definitely. I totally agree that Russia needs to escalate, needs to show military strength. But the Russians aren't escalating enough, and the cards that not the cards, really, it's the same playbook that they constantly have been using since the time of the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire. It's the same playbook that they've been using. If you pay attention to history and you pay attention to what the tactics from the playbook that they've been using, just like in sports, football, baseball, they have a playbook, and it's from things that they know that worked in the past and so on and so forth. But you see how that using the playbook doesn't always mean that you'll win. And so the Patriots and Bill Parcells is a good example. Bill Parcells created new plays into the playbook, and others are copying and using it. But that's not. There is some sort of parallel, but the creativity is vastly lacking, and most of the stuff that the playbook that they bring out from historical past, and they keep using, they haven't really put a lot of creative new plays into their playbook or strategies. So, that's something that I've learned from studying history. And so, coming to the present, it's like the just like the Canadian Parliament did, rising up to applaud a Nazi, a literal Nazi. Uh, from the period of Hitler's Nazi, this guy who hailed Hitler and everything else, in person. Uh, so this is what they were doing during the build-up to the Nazis and up to the right up to the Second World War, when the elites saw a threat to their dominance, and they decided that the Nazis were a threat. So they made the real threat that was Nazi Germany. And they started speaking in truth, truth and truisms and facts, versus before they're doing what they're doing now. They're saying the Nazi problem isn't really a problem. They're doing everything to downplay and make these Ukrainian Nazis out to be other than what they are, Nazis. And but before the invasion, they were talking about CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, Reuters, the AP, and every other outlet was talking about the Nazis in the correct context. After the invasion, it's let's ignore the fact that we wrote and talked about this in dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of articles and news feeds and so on and so forth. Let's forget all that, and let's say, these just nationalists, that they're patriots, and that that they don't have ideology that's xenophobic and are a danger not just to Russians, because it may be focused on Russophobia now, but if you understand the history of the second build up to the Second World War and the Nazi ideology, you understand it wasn't just Jews they were going after. They were going after Christians. They were going after Poles. They were going after Ukrainians. They were going after Belarusians. They were going after everybody. The list of people that and ethnicities, and it just kept on growing and growing. Catholics were so. You have to understand, Nazi ideology. Doesn't stay fixed on one particular group. There's always a need, and that's what that's what all of the West has done. That's a playbook that's been used over and over and over again. It always escalates to that point because ideology doesn't fit with reality. And you will lie, cheat, steal, murder, pillage, plunder, commit genocide and atrocities, and you are forced to use deception and violence to get your way, and you know you eventually get to the point where you exhaust the every resource that is necessary. Uh, uh, and you know the ruling elites of the West, uh, they they will play all sides and take all the acclaim and everything else uh, uh, by doing the minimum, and like for instance that how it was the U.S. And the Allies who meaning the West that won the Second World War, when in reality it was the Soviet Union. And the Soviet Union wasn't just the Russians. It was Soviet Union was all of Eastern Europe. You know, they gave up 27 or 25 million people and ungodly amounts of military resources and materials to win the war. It was the Soviet Union who and the Russians who won the Second World War. It was them that killed and defeated more Germans. They talk about the U.S. likes to talk about how their manufacturing and everything else contributed so much. They did contribute, but the Russians contributed. The Soviet Union contributed far more in materials and fighting manpower than the U.S. and Western allies. You look at the historical fact that even after the end of the Second World War, the U.S. was already, along with the Western Europe, already designating the Soviet Union as the next target, and that's stuff that's been declassified. It's been written about and spoken about, and so understand. There's Operation Paperclip, Gladio, and all, where they were taking Nazis in from Germany, Ukraine, and those in Poland and other places that that had this Nazi ideology. And they framed it as fighting communism, but it's like that just doesn't square. That just doesn't square. When you're taking high-ranking little Nazis and you bring them to the U.S. and putting them into high levels of the government, including NASA, when you're preventing little Nazis from being brought to justice, and you're keeping them in Eastern Europe and in Europe to now be targeting communism, right? To fight communism, right? And you're keeping them from facing justice. And you have the so-called West working with their greatest enemy ever, the greatest enemy ever. How does that square? It doesn't. And the Paperclip and Gladio, and those are just two such monstrous, contemptible things that the U.S. and and the West did. You know, the United States, Britain, you know, even the French, and it's like Italian. Come on now. So you put all this into context, and and if you go back even further, you see the same thing happening. And these are all things that you can look up. And then when you see this and you compare it to what you've been taught, indoctrinated, and conditioned as history, you the only rational and logical thing is to question the legitimacy of it all, and say to yourself, okay, if my morals and ethics and values are that everybody is equal, regardless of skin color or the shape of their eyes or whatnot, whether they're a man or a woman, if your values is liberty, freedom, and all the other stuff that we talk about as being our Western values of democracy, liberty. You get what I mean. It just doesn't square. It's a direct contradiction. And when we keep allowing it to happen, and we don't refuse to talk to each other or ignore, which is the basis for ignorance, and we ignore these truths, then what we are doing is we are enabling, and we are collaborating. You know, where is the justice? Where is this democracy? Where is this freedom? Where's this idea of, of solidarity, of community? It doesn't exist. That's why I talk the way I do. That's why I put out videos the way I do. And the only way we can break away from this conditioning, this indoctrination, this idea that we stand for, what we believe are our values, we can only say that it's lies, it's hypocrisy, it's ideology, it's a farce. It's just a big ass farce, and we should know that we have been lied to. We have been conditioned, indoctrinated, brainwashed, and that should anger us all. We should be seeking to disseminate this sort of information, and we should be, as a community, seeking to enlighten ourselves collectively and get on the same page. And we should be using that to force these criminals. We can't be calling them. They're not Americans. They're not citizens of the world. They're the highest of highest criminals. A corporatocracy is what the West has always been. They're been points in time where the corporatocracy had some pragmatic rationalism, and understanding that you can't uh, use suppression and repression continuously. You can't use force. You can't use deception and lies all the time. That you must modify your greed for control. You must control your impulses. Uh, but it's like that saying: absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that is, and when you play this thing, and you feed it to your sons and daughters uh, and your nephews and uh, and nieces and your grandchildren. It keeps building up, and you create a insatiable obsession that really is just insanity. And and it basically turns to everything and anything is a nail, and you just use a hammer. So, and that sort of insanity is what collapses, which is what collapses societies, brings them low, and has brought the First World War, the Second World War, and those were all driven by the elites and their obsessive need for control and power. It's in the feudal times the same dynamic. This is why history is important, and history isn't just about the past. It's about what's taking place in the present. Okay, because the present always goes to the next day, to the next month. I mean, next week, next month, next year, and so on and so forth. So it's imperative to understand this, because politics is something that the elites do, and what the elites do affects us all. So the political games. It dictates how we live, how we exist. It dictates what the cost of your basic needs, the cost to your family, your friends. 40% of bankruptcies in the United States has to do with medical bankruptcy. That's a staggering amount. That's a staggering amount. 70 or 80%. I think it's even higher, actually, of Americans who have who can't handle a $500 in the moment emergency. They live paycheck to paycheck, and that's just getting worse. And the percentage keeps going higher. These are all statistics that show how the political policies affect us in the real world, in us individually, but also collectively. Just like how feudal in the feudal times, policies like, oh, I can come up if I'm a noble or a king, I can come up and get the first kiss or to get the first chance to have intercourse, sex with the woman you're gonna be married to. Uh, that's it boils down to that. Where is free will in that? Where is equality? Where is freedom? Where is your liberty? Where is your democracy? When you have these little fiefdoms in the corporations, where you have a small number of people who dictate the hours, the pay you make, whether you can have health care, whether you can, whether, what times you work, how long you work, in what conditions you work. How where is your democracy in that? Where are the democratic referendums about uh, spending over $1 trillion in a budget into the military and security structure of fabricating things to go to war, such as Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin false flag that that conscripted Americans to go fight a fight a war for the benefit and profit of those who seek control and power. Hmm? Or what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria and Libya, and it just goes on and on and on. Or the Philippines, or Hawaii, or these are all things that are based on lies. And these are all things that that you can confirm. They talk about having amnesia, historical amnesia. But the thing is it's not historical amnesia. It's the root of it is we want to ignore it. We willfully want to ignore it. And it's only helped by the propagandists, the media, and the political and these other groups who are constantly throwing things to make sure that you have that to help along that amnesia, so that when they want to use that playbook again, you're inundated with nonsense, so that you're arguing amongst yourselves, and you're busy trying to put food on the table, or keep a roof over your head, or all of this, LGBTQ, whatever the fuck that is, and it bring all this nonsense up, and in the background, outside of they're doing they're doing these things that profit the few who gain more control. You know, that's the playbook. That's the playbook. That's why we must have active curiosity and willfully look to invest our time and energy into learning about these things. And this should be tabletop discussions. This whole rhetoric of, oh, I don't talk religion, I don't talk politics. You know, that's what helps this historical amnesia. You know, they seed this stuff in. They condition and indoctrinate. They encourage you to ignore what they're doing. You know, it's like that wizard of, don't pay attention to the man behind the curtains. It's really that simple. So, that's what I got to say.